My beloved child, Archangel Michael says, something happened in the quiet hours when the world around you became still, and someone found themselves standing inside a dream that felt far more personal than an ordinary dream. In that dream, your presence appeared with such emotional intensity that this person woke up carrying the memory long after the images disappeared. What makes this unusual is not simply that they dreamed about you, but that the dream touched a hidden part of their heart they have been trying very hard to keep private. This person did not expect to see you there, and the moment they opened their eyes, they were left with a strange mixture of warmth, confusion, longing, and silence. They may have tried to dismiss it as something meaningless, yet the feeling remained attached to them throughout the day. Somewhere inside, they knew the dream had brought forward emotions they had not fully admitted even to themselves. The dream was not simply about physical closeness, because what shook this person most deeply was the emotional connection surrounding it. There was tenderness, familiarity, trust, and a feeling that the distance between you had temporarily disappeared. The dream showed them a version of your connection where hesitation had no place and where the words they have been holding back no longer needed to remain hidden. That is why this message begins with something important, my beloved child, because the person who dreamed about you may be someone who has been quietly carrying feelings that they have never expressed completely. They may appear normal when they see your name, your photograph, your message, or even something that reminds them of you, but internally there can be a completely different story. The dream may have exposed a part of their emotional world that their waking mind has been carefully protecting. Type Amen 111 if this message resonates with your heart. There is a reason the dream felt unusually vivid, because the mind often brings forward emotions that have been pushed aside during waking hours. This person may have spent weeks or months distracting themselves, staying busy, pretending to be unaffected, or convincing themselves that they had moved beyond the connection. Then, when everything became quiet, the feelings they had controlled during the day found another way to surface. They may have awakened suddenly with your face still clear in their mind, remembering details that seemed almost impossible to forget. The first few seconds after waking could have felt especially powerful because the emotional atmosphere of the dream remained stronger than the ordinary reality around them. They may have looked at the ceiling, reached for their phone, or simply remained still while trying to understand why you had appeared so vividly. This person could be someone who has already known you personally, someone who once shared meaningful conversations with you, or someone whose connection with you became complicated before it could fully develop. The important part is that your presence occupies a particular emotional space inside them. Even if communication has become distant, the emotional memory has not necessarily disappeared. There is another possibility that makes this dream even more significant within the story of this connection, and that is that this person has been thinking about you more often than you realize. They may not be constantly thinking about you in an obvious way, but certain moments throughout the day may unexpectedly bring you back into their mind. A song, a location, a familiar phrase, a photograph, a date, or even a simple memory can quietly reopen feelings they believed they had already placed behind them. Type Amen 333 if your heart feels this message deeply. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks, with contributions of up to $20. This person may have a very controlled personality, someone who does not easily reveal vulnerability and prefers to appear calm even when emotions are moving intensely underneath. They may have learned to keep their feelings private because admitting them would require them to face decisions they have avoided. Their dream may therefore have become a place where their emotional defenses temporarily disappeared. They could have feelings for you that are much deeper than their behavior suggests. Perhaps they have acted distant because they were afraid of becoming emotionally dependent, afraid of rejection, afraid of losing control, or afraid that revealing the truth would change everything between you. Their silence may have looked like indifference, but internally it may have been connected to uncertainty and emotional self-protection. The dream may have surprised them because it created an experience they could not control. During waking hours, they can choose whether to text you, whether to look at your profile, whether to mention your name, and whether to keep their distance. Inside a dream, those carefully constructed boundaries can disappear, allowing hidden emotions to appear without permission. That is why they may now be acting strangely around anything connected to you. They might suddenly become more curious about your life, revisit an old conversation, look through old photographs, or wonder whether you still remember them. Even a small reminder of you may now carry a completely different emotional weight because the dream has made their feelings harder for them to ignore. Type Amen 777 if you believe something meaningful is unfolding in your life. There is a particular emotional quality surrounding this person, and it feels like someone who has been trying to convince themselves that they are stronger than their feelings. They may have told themselves that enough time has passed, that circumstances are different now, or that moving forward would be easier than confronting what remains unfinished. Yet the dream brought the emotional connection back into focus. They may have experienced other relationships or conversations since knowing you, but something about you remained difficult to replace. It may not even be something obvious about your appearance or personality, but rather the way they felt when they were around you. You may have made them feel understood, noticed, accepted, challenged, or emotionally alive in a way they did not expect. The dream could have represented a desire for emotional closeness rather than simply physical closeness. Their subconscious may have created a situation where they felt safe enough to experience affection, tenderness, acceptance, and intimacy without the fear that usually accompanies vulnerability. When they woke up, that emotional safety may have been the part they missed most. This is why the identity of this person may become clearer through their behavior rather than through dramatic declarations. Pay attention within the story to the person who becomes unusually attentive, unexpectedly nostalgic, quietly protective, or strangely nervous around you. The person who seems to have something to say but repeatedly holds it back may be carrying more emotion than they are willing to reveal. Type Amen 888 if you are ready for clarity and emotional peace. There may have been a moment in your connection when this person almost confessed something important but stopped themselves. Perhaps they typed a message and deleted it, began a conversation and changed the subject, or stood close to you while struggling to find the courage to express what they actually felt. That unfinished moment may still exist in their memory. They may remember tiny details about you that you have completely forgotten. They could remember the way you smiled during a certain conversation, the expression on your face when you were surprised, the sound of your voice, the way you reacted to something emotional, or even the atmosphere surrounding a particular meeting. Those details can remain buried until something unexpected brings them back. The dream may have pulled several of those memories together and created an emotional experience that felt more real than they expected. They may have awakened wondering why their mind chose you after so much time. They could have tried to analyze the dream logically, but the emotional reaction may have remained stronger than the explanation. There is also a chance that this person has been silently comparing other connections with the one they experienced with you. They may not consciously admit this comparison, but something about you became a standard they have struggled to forget. The dream may have reminded them that the emotional chapter involving you was never completely closed inside their heart. Type Amen 1212 if you are receiving this message with an open heart. This person may currently be closer to you than you think, even if the emotional distance between you feels enormous. They could be someone within your wider social circle, someone you occasionally encounter, someone connected through work or mutual friends, or someone who has quietly remained aware of your life. Their connection to you does not necessarily have to look obvious from the outside. They may be watching from a distance without wanting you to know. They could notice when you change something about yourself, when your mood seems different, when you disappear from social spaces, or when something significant happens in your life. Their attention may not always translate into direct communication because their emotions are mixed with hesitation. This person may also be someone who once underestimated how deeply you would affect them. At first, they may have believed that the connection was temporary, casual, or simply another chapter that would naturally fade. Instead, time created distance without completely removing the emotional imprint. The dream may have arrived at a moment when this person was already becoming emotionally restless. They may have been thinking about what they lost, what they never said, or what could have happened if they had made different choices. The dream then became a powerful reminder that the story is still emotionally alive inside them. Type Amen 444 if you feel that hidden emotions are finally coming to light. There is something else about this person that deserves attention, because they may be carrying regret. Not necessarily regret over one enormous mistake, but regret over small choices that slowly created distance between you. They may remember moments when they could have been kinder, more honest, more present, or more courageous. Perhaps they realize now that they misunderstood you. Perhaps they believed you would always remain available, only to discover that your energy changed when you stopped chasing answers. Perhaps they expected you to make the first move forever, and your silence eventually forced them to recognize how much they had taken your presence for granted. The dream may have confronted them with an emotional version of you that they could no longer ignore. In the dream, there was no opportunity to hide behind pride, excuses, timing, or circumstances. They experienced closeness without the barriers that had existed in waking life. When they woke up, they may have felt the absence of that closeness more intensely than before. That feeling can create a powerful internal shift, especially for someone who has spent a long time pretending that they are completely unaffected by you. Type Amen 555 if you are choosing peace while allowing truth to reveal itself. This person may have one particular fear that explains much of their behavior, and that fear is being emotionally exposed. They may worry that if they tell you what they truly feel, you will have the power to reject them, misunderstand them, or change the dynamic between you. Remaining silent gives them the illusion of control. But the dream removed that control. Their subconscious created a space where affection could exist without consequences, where they could experience the emotional closeness they secretly desire without having to face the uncertainty of real life. That is why they may now feel conflicted. One part of them may want to move closer to you, while another part wants to forget the dream completely. One part may feel relieved that their feelings surfaced, while another part may feel embarrassed that their mind revealed something they never intended to acknowledge. The person could therefore behave inconsistently for a while. They may approach you warmly and then become distant, show interest and then retreat, or begin communicating before suddenly becoming quiet. This inconsistency may not mean the feelings are fake, it may mean the person has not yet learned how to handle them honestly. Type Amen 666 if you are releasing confusion and welcoming emotional clarity. There may also be a significant difference between what this person wants and what they believe they are allowed to have. They might believe that circumstances make the connection difficult, that the timing is wrong, or that too much has happened between you. Their heart may move toward you while their mind lists every reason to stay away. The dream temporarily removed those restrictions. For a few moments, the person experienced the connection without calculating consequences or protecting their image. That experience may have revealed a truth they have avoided during waking life. They may now be questioning their own emotional choices internally, not through spoken questions but through reflection. They may wonder why your memory remains powerful, why other people have not created the same emotional reaction, and why something they thought was finished continues returning unexpectedly. This is where the identity of the person becomes even more interesting, because it may be someone who has previously acted as though they did not care. Their outer behavior may have been calm, detached, or even cold, while their inner world was much more complicated. Type Amen 999 if you trust that what is meant to be understood will become clear. There is a possibility that this person has recently encountered something that reminded them strongly of you. Maybe they visited a familiar place, heard a song connected with a memory, saw someone who resembled you, or discovered an old conversation. That reminder may have reopened an emotional door that had been closed for a long time. The dream could have followed that emotional trigger naturally. Their mind may have gathered memories, feelings, longing, and unresolved emotions and transformed them into one vivid experience. When they awakened, they were left with the uncomfortable realization that you still occupy space in their emotional world. They may not tell anyone about the dream. If they are private, they might keep it completely to themselves because sharing it would make the feelings feel too real. They may even laugh it off if someone notices that they seem distracted, while internally replaying certain parts of the dream. Their silence should therefore not automatically be interpreted as emptiness. Sometimes the person who says the least is the person trying hardest to control what they feel. Type Amen 222 if you are allowing hidden truths to unfold naturally. This person may also be someone who has been waiting for a sign that approaching you would not lead to rejection. They may have interpreted your silence, distance, or changed behavior as evidence that you no longer care. Because they do not know what is happening inside your heart, they may have chosen the safer path of doing nothing. The dream may have changed that internal balance. It reminded them that their emotions still exist, and that realization can make avoidance increasingly difficult. They may begin with something extremely small. A simple message, a reaction, a casual greeting, an unexpected appearance, or a reference to an old memory could become their way of testing whether the emotional door is still open. Do not expect this person to reveal everything immediately. Someone who has spent a long time hiding their feelings may need several small steps before they can finally speak honestly. Type Amen 1010 if you are ready for a new chapter filled with honesty and peace. The most powerful part of this story is not the dream itself, but what the dream represents emotionally. It represents the moment when something hidden becomes difficult to ignore. It represents a person confronting feelings that they had successfully buried during their waking hours. They may have wanted to believe that you were simply part of their past. Yet the dream brought you into their present emotional experience without warning. Suddenly, memories they thought were distant felt close again. This can happen when a person reaches a stage where distraction no longer works. They can stay busy, meet new people, change routines, travel, work longer hours, or focus on other goals, but certain emotional memories remain untouched beneath the surface. Your presence may represent one of those memories for them. Not necessarily because the relationship was perfect, but because something about it remained unfinished. Type Amen 123 if this message speaks to the hidden chapter of your heart. There may be another reason this person dreamed about you, and it could be connected to the emotional safety they associate with your presence. Perhaps they remember being able to talk to you without pretending, or perhaps they remember feeling accepted during a difficult period. Even if the relationship never became what either of you expected, the emotional imprint can still remain. People sometimes remember how someone made them feel long after they forget the exact conversations. This person may miss that feeling more than they miss any particular moment. They may miss the sense of being understood, the warmth of your attention, or the comfort of knowing that someone genuinely noticed them. The dream could therefore have brought back not only you, but the version of themselves they experienced when they were connected to you. Type Amen 7777 if you are choosing to receive only what brings peace, clarity, and genuine love. There is a strong possibility that this person has been keeping a private emotional record of you without realizing it. They remember your habits, your expressions, your preferences, the things that made you laugh, and the moments when you seemed emotionally distant. They may have noticed changes in you that others overlooked. They may have silently observed how much you have grown, how your confidence has changed, or how you stopped seeking validation from people who once mattered deeply. That transformation could be one reason their feelings have intensified. When someone realizes that the person they once knew has become stronger and more independent, old emotions can return with surprising force. The dream may have shown them a version of you they deeply desire to reconnect with, while also reminding them that you are no longer waiting in the same emotional place. Type Amen 8888 if you are stepping into your next chapter with confidence. This person may also be dealing with the realization that time does not always erase emotional attachment. They may have assumed that distance would solve everything, only to discover that distance sometimes makes certain memories clearer. When you are constantly around someone, everyday frustrations can cover deeper emotions. When that person disappears from your daily life, the noise becomes quieter and the emotional meaning can become easier to recognize. That may be happening now. The dream could be part of an internal realization that this person has been avoiding. They may finally understand that what they felt for you was more meaningful than they allowed themselves to believe. Type Amen 1313 if you are ready to understand what once felt confusing. There is also an emotional turning point approaching within this story. The person may eventually reach a moment when staying silent becomes more uncomfortable than speaking honestly. That does not mean they will suddenly arrive with a dramatic confession. Their first movement may be subtle, cautious, and almost ordinary, but underneath that ordinary action could be a significant emotional decision. They may send a message they have rewritten several times.